Welcome to Next Level Play Therapy, a weekly podcast dedicated to supporting the next generation of child and adolescent therapists to provide exceptional play therapy services. We'll explore all things play therapy to elevate your work with children and adolescents using the therapeutic powers of play. I'll discuss practical tips and ideas so you can provide a transformative experience for your young clients and make a real difference in their lives. So get ready to take your play therapy skills to the next level and make a lasting impact in the lives of children, adolescents, and families. Welcome to this week's episode of Next Level Play Therapy, where we talk about all things play therapy. And today I want to talk about a concept that I was introduced to back when I was taking a Santre training when I was living on the East Coast. I was taking a Santre training with the amazing Dr. D. Preston Dillon of the Center for Culture and Play. So if you know D. Preston Dillon, I would love for you to post in the comments. We can talk about how amazing she is. And if you are on the East Coast and you need a Santre training and you want to go really, really deep into some of your own self-care as well, then I would definitely check her out. That got me to thinking, though, as I have been doing some of my own personal work, I started remembering that conversation with D. Preston Dillon in that Santre training where she introduced this concept of the wounded healer archetype. And the way she talked about it was with compassion and resilience and how it helps us to become more authentic humans. And I thought about Velveteen Rabbit, to be completely honest. A well-loved, authentic Velveteen Rabbit. And I kind of thought about the wounded healer and that Velveteen Rabbit and how we show up in our play therapy sessions, how we show up for parents and caregivers from a place of authenticity, being able to access deep wisdom and insight and empathy and unconditional positive regard. And to me, that concept of wounded healer also brings up that whole topic of creating a sacred space for healing. I talked about what is a sacred space for healing in last week's episode. So if this is a topic of interest to you and showing up authentically and creating that authentic space for healing, deep healing, then you may want to pop over to my YouTube channel, or if you're watching the live stream episodes, see the previous week's episode. If you're listening on the podcast, you may want to listen to last week's podcast. So that's what I want to talk about this week is how do you create that sacred space, and what's the role of that wounded healer archetype in that therapeutic rapport that we're building with our clients. Because I feel like, so if you've listened to any of my previous live stream episodes or listened to any of the previous podcasts, so if you're interested, I have a podcast. It's called Next Level Play Therapy. I also have a YouTube channel. If you're interested, you can pop over there. It's Cathi Spooner, Renewing Hearts Training. Click on the live tab because that's where all the recorded replay episodes of the live stream are, so you can watch the video part of it. So that got me to thinking about Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So that's what I want to talk about this week. That idea of how do you create that sacred space? What is the role of that wounded healer archetype? And how do we do that in a way that honors our clients and allows them to have that free and protected space for healing without all of our stuff, shall we say, kind of spilling over into the play therapy session or filling over into our work with parents and caregivers. So for those of you watching on the live stream episode, I would love to see who's here. Post your name in the comments. Post where are you from? What population are you working with? If you're watching on the replay, perfect opportunity to pop in and join the conversation as well. Watching the replay, what population do you work with? And where are you working? And if you're watching or listening on the podcast, I'd love to hear from you. So feel free to pop over to my Instagram channel. I live stream on Instagram as well. If you're watching on Instagram, hello, Instagram people. Send me a DM, send me a message. Love to say hello. So let's get started for this week. First of all, I want to define what does it mean to be a wounded healer. So like I do when I'm preparing for trainings or preparing for these weekly episodes, I will sometimes consult Dr. Google, because sometimes Dr. Google has some really interesting and helpful information. Sometimes not. And sometimes Dr. Google can be very helpful. So Dr. Google, with its new AI capabilities, says, I love this definition, so I wanted to read the definition. And the definition is, to quote Dr. Google, a wounded healer is someone who uses their own painful experiences to help others. The term was coined by a psychologist, Carl Jung, the wounded healer archetype. So a wounded healer is someone who uses their own painful experiences to help others. So there's that transformational component. And as play therapists or those in the mental health profession, how many of us have been the cycle breakers in our own families, where we have taken what we've learned in our own healing process and have that become our mission, our purpose in life, to help others heal. I can remember as a little girl, I can remember I read all the books when I was little. If there was a book about helping kids heal or about kids and families overcoming obstacles, I read it. I loved all those stories. In my little kid mind, I was going to save children. And it was interesting because I always remember as a little girl, I knew there were things off in my family. Like my mom would do some things and I would think to myself, I don't think that's a healthy thing. I think something's wrong here. I laugh now. Back then it was pretty weird as a kid to think, everybody is acting like this is normal, but I don't think this is normal. I think something's wrong here. And it wasn't until I got to adult and got into my own healing process that I kind of jumped for joy a little bit, because I felt a little validated. Like I was right. As a kid, I was right. There were some things going on here that were totally not good. And then, looking back on the generational cycles that my parents were living through. And my mom would try. I could, looking back as an adult, I can try. Oh, I think my mom was really trying here. It just didn't stick. And I have a good relationship with my mom. Before my dad died, we had a good relationship. So, healing happens. And I it kind of brings up that idea of what does it mean to be a wounded healer? And how do we use that? So I remember as a kid thinking, I'm going to help kids heal. That's what I'm going to do. But I didn't know how because I was a kid. And until you do a little internal house cleaning, you're not going to be very effective. So at some point, realizing, you know what, this therapy thing, there's something you can do to help kids. I'm all in. And it became a calling, a purpose. I would say now, almost 35 years later, now I would say my purpose is helping other play therapists and supporting new and seasoned play therapists in the work that you're doing. And when I talk to play therapists, people, child and adolescent therapists interested in becoming play therapists, I hear the same thing over and over. In Play Therapy Academy, when we're having our consultation meetings, I hear the same thing over and over. And that is, it feels like a calling. It feels like a purpose, not just a job. There's that. And to me, that's the sacred journey, that desire to help others come out of what I call the darkness, right? Come out of the darkness. As therapists and play therapists, we know the way out. I've always thought about it that way. Like, my calling is to be a light in the darkness as a play therapist. And so we go into those dark places with our clients, with family members, with parents in a compassionate and supportive, empathic, knowledgeable way, and help them find their way out. And to me, that's what it means to be the wounded healer. That's what it means to create that sacred space. We are using our theoretical model to ground us and help us understand how to help our clients out of those dark places. In order to do that, we also have to have strong therapeutic rapport. So we need both, right? We need the theory to ground us, help us understand what's going on, what are the roots of the problem. That's our case conceptualization. Case conceptualization and theory without relationship does not work. Our clients need to trust us. They need to experience compassion and empathy with boundaries. There are boundaries in order to be willing to go on the journey with us and to trust us as their guide to help them out of those dark places. And that's what we do as play therapists. Okay, so I want to do a little full disclosure here. For those of you listening or watching, my dog, Luna, has entered the room. So when my husband goes off to work, I do these live streams early in the morning. When my husband goes off to work, he has to open the door to my office because he has to let my dog Luna in. And Luna is now, she hears me saying her name. Yep. She hears me saying her name. Luna is in the office with me. And so when Luna comes in the office, she likes to make herself comfortable. And in order to make herself comfortable, she's got to dig in the carpet like somehow it's going to create this comfy, cozy spot for her to lay. But sometimes that doesn't cut it. So she's got to do a lot of digging, and then she's got to roll around and moan. Some of you watching on the video in live stream and on LinkedIn, You may see her. I saw this once when I was going through and editing, like reviewing some of the videos to kind of repurpose some of the clips. And I saw Luna's little tail in the background of the video. So in some of the old videos, if you're watching, especially if you're watching on LinkedIn or if you're watching on YouTube, I may see her little black and white tail in the background. So anyways, if you hear moaning, or you hear these weird sounds in the background, there is not anything untoward, to use an old word there. There's not anything going on in the background that's not okay or weird or a little concerning. Is just my dog Luna. Oh, she's getting really comfy. Just my dog Luna hanging out with mom. So just so you know. All righty. So we have, awesome. So we have Barbara from Annapolis, Maryland. Glad to have found your presentation. Hey, Barbara. Hey, I'm actually from, Virginia side. So I'm very aware of Annapolis, Maryland. So I'm always happy to connect with my East Coast peeps. And it's beach season now. So hanging out in Ocean City, Maryland, some of the other beaches. I'm sure you're going to be doing some of that. And Annapolis is beautiful. I love Annapolis, especially at 4th of July. I don't know if they still do that. So welcome. Awesome to have you. So first, let's define what is a wounded healer. So as Dr. Google has defined, a wounded healer is someone who uses their own painful experiences to help others. From a practical standpoint, I feel like this is the way in which we show up authentically in a healthy way with boundaries, accessing the wisdom that we've learned from our own healing journey to help us show up authentically and in a real way in sessions with our clients, with parents and caregivers, so that they can trust us and engage in the healing process. As those of us who are accessing that wounded healer archetype to show up authentically, we are showing up with empathy. We're showing up with unconditional positive regard. These are all the ways that we hold that space. The way that we do that, though, here are some characteristics that we're thinking about, to me, that are the resilience aspects of that wounded healer archetype, and that is empathy. We have great empathy for the cost of engaging in the healing journey. We have insights that we've learned, some of our own wisdom that we've gained along the way. We know resourcefulness. We know that if you keep on trying, that it will eventually work out. Not to give up. We know to listen deeply. And as we're listening deeply, then we're also demonstrating acceptance. So we can accept, this is where I like DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. So dialectical behavior therapy, acceptance and change. Acceptance is our clients are doing the best they can at any moment in time. The change part is, and they can do better. And that acceptance of our clients are doing the best that they can. Even when you hear things in the playroom that you think to yourself, oh my goodness, my brain just went tilt. So you may have to hold some boundaries. We are mandated reporters. The goal of therapy is always safety first, right? Safety first, safety first, safety first. And as we're also holding that our clients are doing the best they can, parents are doing the best they can, they're not going to trust us unless they feel like you're not judging them. We may be holding boundaries. That's different than judging. Boundaries is not judging. I know that one gets people confused all the time. So that's what it means to be a wounded healer. And how does that influence how we hold that sacred space? So that sacred space is the idea that in here, in the playroom, in this office, when we're meeting with parents, in here, that I'm going to show up in a way that is not judgmental. I'm showing compassion. I am having empathy. I am listening deeply in a non-judgmental way. And I'm going to hold confidentiality. There are exceptions to confidentiality, so we always have to make sure those are clear from the get-go. So unless it's a mandated safety reporting thing, then we are holding hard stories and we are holding privacy and figuring out what that looks like in a therapeutic way in the session, because that's what creates that sacred space when we hold that space in a way where clients feel accepted. They feel like they're not judged. They know the boundaries. They know what to expect. They will settle in, and when they trust you, then they will go to those deeper places, right? We know from neuroscience that people have to access their social engagement circuits in order to let down their guard and feel safe. And only when they feel safe will they be vulnerable. That's what we ask people to do in the play therapy office. In therapy in general, we ask people to come in and be vulnerable, to talk about those things or to work through those things that they don't necessarily want to talk to others about because others won't get it and they won't understand, but they need a place to be able to do that, to be able to talk about the things that where they feel shame. Or children need to be able to play out those things that they're trying to make sense of or trying to overcome, and they need to feel like that they can do that and not freak you out, and that they feel like it's going to be private so they don't have to worry about what their parents are going to say, which their parents probably already know most of it anyway. But kids need to feel like they can do that because they need to feel like they have a space where they can go into those hard areas and figure things out with you as that compassionate presence that anchors the sessions in the change process. Sorry, I was reading Barbara's quote. Yes, great little town, she says, Annapolis. Yeah. So that's how we hold that space. We want to have that space where the client can openly share their thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment that allows them to go to those deep places. Unless we have a strong therapeutic relationship with them, then they're not going to do that, because we know from neuroscience that in order to engage social engagement circuits, they first have to deactivate those neuroception circuits, those threat circuits that are constantly assessing for threat. And so creating that sacred space means providing that free and protected space. And as wounded healers, because we get things at a deeper level in some areas, not everywhere, and we understand what it means to work through that healing, we understand some nuances maybe at a deeper level than somebody who hasn't gone through that. It doesn't mean we experience everything. And if we don't experience everything, that we can't show up authentically. It doesn't mean that. What it means is we can access deep compassion. We can access deep wisdom. As long as we stay anchored in ourselves, we have to be well regulated. We have to know how to therapeutically hold with acceptance and change. There's the boundaries in there as well. And we can use that deep wisdom. And here's the thing, like, it's not always going to be perfect all the time. We're not talking about being perfect, people. We are talking about being wise. We're talking about accessing the wisdom that we've learned along the way from our own healing journey. Doesn't mean we do it perfectly. I mean, we talk about this in Play Therapy Academy. This is one of my favorite things about Play Therapy Academy. And if you talk to anybody in Play Therapy Academy, they will tell you the same thing, like to the person. They will all say the same thing, and they won't be prompted by me. They'll share this spontaneously. And in some of the past episodes, I've had some Play Therapy Academy members come on to these episodes and share their gifts. So what it's a free and protected space, right, with boundaries, and where we can use our community support. Like, hey, I'm struggling with this. We need to support each other, I think, in the play therapy community, because we do hold hard stories. It is hard things. And we can't just talk to anybody about it, because not anybody's going to get it. And like in Play Therapy Academy, we'll kind of help each other. Hey, I think I'm getting a little stuck here. I'm getting stuck. This got activated. I hate to say this. And I need help knowing how to hold this. I need help knowing what to do with this. And then how do I set that aside so that I could show up authentically in play therapy sessions? How do I set this aside so I can be more effective when I'm working with caregivers and parents? Like, this to me is why we need community. As mental health professionals, as play therapists, being part of a community of support means we don't have to hold these hard stories by ourselves. And when our little wounded healer archetype gets activated, and the shadow aspects, right? Those get activated. We have a place to go where we can sort those through so that we can access the light attributes of that wounded healer archetype. So having that community can be very beneficial to do this work that we're doing. And if you're interested, I am going to talk a little bit more about Play Therapy Academy at the end. If you're interested, I do have a couple of spaces open. The spaces are limited in Play Therapy Academy. So if you're interested, I have a couple of spots, and then I will tell you a little bit about it at the end. So holding that space, holding that sacred space, means we also have boundaries. So showing up authentically with boundaries means we need to recognize the difference between when we're in that wounded space versus when we're accessing the insights and wisdom and compassion from that place where we've overcome and we've healed, because that's how we are making sure that we don't show up in our wounded place and then create some challenges there. Does it mean sometimes we will, because sometimes we're not perfect? Yes. This is where your strong relationship with clients, professional relationship, will help keep them grounded. And then you go through the repair work with them, right? I love using a neuroscience and attachment lens, even as a therapist. One, to understand what's going on with my clients, making sense of that, understanding generational histories of trauma, attachment, poverty, and what that looks like, and helping parents break generational cycles for their children, working with children to help children break generational cycles in their families and learn how to heal. That to me is that's the gift of being a play therapist, the gift that we get to witness, as well as the gift that we give to help families walk out of those really hard places. So we need to know we need to recognize when we're acting in that wounded place versus acting in that place of healing and accessing deep wisdom. And so some of the things we need to be aware when I'm triggered, when I'm not doing my self-care and I'm feeling a little crispy fried. That's a good indicator. We hold hard stories. We just had this conversation recently in Play Therapy Academy where self-care, we've got to put the oxygen mask on first, right? That airplane analogy that you use with parents all the time. We have to use it for ourselves. Previous episodes, I've talked about this as well. So if you're interested in this topic, you may want to look at some of those previous episodes where we talk about self-care and the role of self-care to make sure that we are filling up our own wells, because you can't give from an empty well. And to me, that means some of the things that we need to do are tap into our own spiritual practice, tap into nature, if that fills you up. For me, tapping into my own spiritual practice, tapping into nature, but also my family is what grounds me, making sure that I'm spending time with family and making sure first and foremost that I am prioritizing that, which is hard because sometimes when your kids are little and you're doing play therapy and helping other people and you're working full time and you have your family and you're taking care of bills and going grocery shopping and doing all the things, sometimes we can have a little bit of that guilt, like, oh, I'm giving more to my clients than I am to my own kids, right? It's a horrible feeling. Mommy guilt is real. I'm sure daddy guilt is real too. Talk to my husband. He'll say daddy guilt is real. It's a thing. It's a real thing. So what does that mean? When that kicks up, it is a red flag that says, hey, take a step back. Who owns this problem? You or your clients? Give it back to your clients. Take a step back. Do your self-care. Reconnect with the important people in your life. We need to do all of these things so that we show up in our sessions as our best versions of play therapists. First, though, it means we have to take care of ourselves. And there are things that we have to hold boundaries around. Like we're not going to share if we're not going to do any self-disclosure if we're doing it from a wounded place. That serves nobody. But also, even sharing some self-disclosure, you have to think about whether or not it's beneficial. Does the client need to hear it? Because sometimes, even if it's coming from a healthy place, the timing is not right, or it's not something clients need to hear. We can access it. Oh yeah, to access compassion and deep empathy doesn't mean we need to share it, because sometimes it can backfire on you. So you have to be really clear about that. And for some kids, they don't, or parents, I would say, like sometimes sharing some of your own experiences can be beneficial, but sometimes sharing some information about yourself can give this create unrealistic expectations, meaning like, oh, we align in this area, which means you're going to make my kids align. And that's not true. It's not how it works. So you have to be really careful about that in order to maintain that free and protected space for your clients. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is we're honoring our own healing journey while holding space for our clients and their healing journey. So, for example, if you have a client, let's say you're working with a family who has deep religious beliefs, and maybe their 8-year-old child is exploring, because their 8-year-old child is maybe got some neurodiversity, operates outside of the box, doesn't follow typical norms. Maybe they're not picking up on the norms of the typical society. And maybe they've got some things they want to explore, like maybe they want to explore gender. And in the playroom, maybe it's a little boy, and the little boy wants to explore wearing princess dresses or playing with baby dolls, which outside of the play therapy session might create some challenges for them. And they might be worried about parents' response. And there's a tricky part, right? Where we're working with parents and developing rapport with them. We're also holding space for children to do what they need to do. And so sometimes we hold things that are in opposition to each other while we help families navigate the change process. And so in the playroom, we can allow the child to explore what the child needs to explore, because in order to get a better understanding of what's going on for the child, it is helpful to see what it is that they're working through and how they're making sense of the world and what's going on in their lives. Or maybe you have children who have their own deep spiritual beliefs and they want to play those out in the playroom. As play therapists, we allow them to do that. Maybe in some families, there's been some trauma that has happened and the child needs a place to work that through, and parents need their own place to work that through. So we as therapists have to be able to hold that. Our clients may even have different beliefs. They might have different values from us. They might even work through the process in a way that's different than the way we worked through it. We have to allow them to figure out their journey, right? That's what it means to hold that free and protected space for them. What does that look like for them? It might be the long, windy road, or it might be a very direct route. It is their journey. We need to release control to them and allow them to work through the journey as they need to work through the journey. And to me, this is where we need support and help to do that, because sometimes it's hard to hold those stories. So that is it for today. So we're talking about how to create a sacred space in play therapy for healing. And let me just do a quick recap, kind of defining what is a wounded healer. The wounded healer archetype was coined by Carl Jung, and it's that idea of that healing journey that we've gone through and worked through those painful experiences, and now we are come to a different place. We use the wisdom and the insights and the empathy and compassion that we can access through those experiences to create a free and protected space for our clients. And holding that free and protected space means we're showing up with unconditional positive regard. We are listening deeply to what's being said so our clients can experience that felt sense of being seen and heard by a compassionate, non-judgmental other. And that we're maintaining that privacy. It's a private space, confidential, with boundaries. We are mandated reporters. Safety is always first. And we hold hard stories, maintaining that privacy so that our clients can feel comfortable working through some of those vulnerable and challenging places that they need to work through in order to access healing. And that's the boundaries, right? We have boundaries. We have boundaries with ourselves. We need to make sure that we are operating from a healthy place versus when we are our own wounds have gotten activated. We need to recognize when that happens. We need to do our self-care to make sure that we're filling up our own well, so to speak, before we pour out to others. Because sometimes also we need to think about, is this self-disclosure, if I want to use a little self-disclosure, is that going to be effective? It has to be for the purpose, sole purpose of helping clients heal. And so sometimes we'll access the memory or the wisdom, but we don't necessarily have to share our own experiences, because we can hold that for our clients and allow them to navigate their healing in a way that's authentic for them. And so that's honoring our own healing while also holding space for the child's healing, holding space in our work with parents for the purpose of helping children heal. So that is it for today. If you're interested in Play Therapy Academy, Play Therapy Academy is my online consultation program for play therapists who really want to deep dive into learning to become a play therapist, learning the skills, moving from what I call that self-doubting play therapist to becoming a confident play therapy expert. We have twice a month consultation calls where we staff cases, we support each other, we give feedback. There's courses in the program to help you develop your foundation, some solid foundational skills that you can build from along as you continue your journey of being a play therapist. We have online support. We have a group chat where we give each other support. There's lots of other bonuses in there as well. If you're interested or feel like you're ready to take that next step to becoming a play therapist, then schedule a video call with me and we'll see how Play Therapy Academy can help you become a play therapist. If it's a good fit, great. If it's not a great fit, then we've connected and that'll be awesome. So if you've been thinking about taking your play therapy skills to the next level and you really want to, you feel like this is the time, then schedule a video call. So you can do that by hopping over to my website at rhplaytherapytraining.com. Hop over to the supervision page. And so FYI, any of you watching on the replay, my virtual assistant and I are going to be revamping my website a little bit. So we're going to revamp that supervision page a little bit. It might be called, I forgot what I told my virtual assistant, May, what I wanted to call it. I think we're calling it consultation page. Anyway, hop over. Right now it's called supervision page. Maybe later it'll be called consultation page. Pop over there. You can find out a little bit more about Play Therapy Academy, and you can also there'll be a link to schedule a video call with me to find out if it's a good fit for you. We're also going to post the links in the comments. So feel free to check out the comments, head over to my website, rhplaytherapy.com, hop over to the supervision page. That's renewingheartsplaytherapytraining.com. And I will see you guys next week. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Next Level Play Therapy. I hope you found the discussion valuable and gained new insights and ideas to support your work helping children, adolescents, and families heal. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback helps to improve and reach more people who can benefit from this information. Remember, play therapy is a powerful tool for healing and growth. Whether you're a new play therapist or experienced, I encourage you to continue your learning journey to unlock the potential of play in your own work and relationships. If you have any questions or topic suggestions for future episodes, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on social media and visit my website at Renewing Hearts Play Therapy Training to stay updated on upcoming episodes, trainings, and resources. Thank you once again for listening to Next Level Play Therapy. Until next time, keep playing, learning, and growing.